Welcome to the Hot Mess Cosmic Express, where we talk about the stars, shuffle a few cards, and never pretend to have our shit together. Hello, my little patch of Brussels sprouts. Welcome to another episode of the Hot Mess Cosmic Express. My name is Darcy Britt, and this is my co-host.
I'm Tracy Gardner.
Hey, Tracy, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. So, you wanted to talk about the full moon in Aries.
Yes. So I wanted to kind of take a minute. Sorry, my door's open. So I'm going to try to not let my husband, who's watching Thursday Night Football, make really loud noises because I'm locked myself in my closet. But yeah, so I wanted to start doing a few episodes out there and getting some stuff out there about the different phases of the moon. And as we go throughout the year, of course, there's 8 different phases with the moon every different month. But the full moon, because it's the one that's coming up, that is a really, really important one. So I wanted to just like get on here, grab you, and just kind of just spill everything I know about not just the full moon, but more specifically like that full moon in Aries. How's that sound?
I'm very excited. I can't wait to learn.
I know it's kind of like we talked about before we prepped for the show, that it's almost I know you came to my classes when I did them, but it's not as detailed as that, but it's kind of exciting for me because it's kind of, I'm not teaching it, but I'm talking about it, and it just gets me really excited because I love the moon. Obviously, you know, I manifest with it in accordance with all the different things. And like I said before, the full moon is like one of the most like critical steps when you're manifesting. But a lot of times it's the one that everybody overlooks. Now, you know, like for example, I'll ask you, like, what do you do for the full moon? Like, do you do anything like, do you sage? Do you do anything fun?
I don't always. I always journal, but I journal pretty much for every phase of the
Journal
moon. So
all the
that
time. I've got journal questions here, Tracy. I'll have to see if we've got time. I'll throw those in there at the end too, so you can journal your little heart out for the Aries
oh
full
yeah,
moon.
yeah. But like I do try to remember like if it's a full moon, like I'll try to like clear out things, like either like cleanse it like you said with either sage or something, or even just like put some of my crystals out so they can like release that energy, or you know oh, what is it called, the flower that you got me.
Oh, a Jericho rose.
Yeah, I always
Oh,
try to like open it up so we can release whatever I've put in for the new moon. So those are a couple things that I do.
well, so you hit on a couple of things there that I'm really glad you said, because those are some of the things that you said there. You mentioned, even though you're not doing like what we're talking about today, you're right on track with what you're supposed to be doing with the full moon. So you
Oh,
mentioned
awesome.
like cleaning things out, right? Full moons are a lot of times are about releasing energy and getting rid of all of that negativity. Because if you think about it, you know, we go through our day-to-day lives and we are bombarded with energy vampires, with, you know, people that just in and out of our lives, whether it's a grocery clerk, people that you know specifically, or just people that you pass, you come across all of this negative energy. And, you know, so many people want to go and, you know, I got snow on my car's dirty. Well, it's kind of the same thing with your energy. Your energy attracts and all that stuff kind of gets stuck on you. And so the full moon is a really great time to release and cleanse. And that's why so many people are like, I like to get rid of stuff or sage if I can, you know, like you said, you know, kind of taking out stuff that you did at the full moon. That whole cleansing and getting rid of stuff is just one of the really important reasons, or I guess I should say one of the reasons why that working with that full moon is so important. Because when we're manifesting, you know, it's all about the law of attraction, which I think you know about the law of attraction, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So for anybody that doesn't know, it's actually one of 7 universal laws. And the universal law of attraction, as it's technically named, represents the thought that like energy attracts like energy. So from a law of attraction perspective, when we're trying to attract things, we want to attract things that are good. So we want to attract things that are happy or things that have a high positive vibration. So we, in turn, in order to attract it, we have to be that positive energy, right? And so as we go through the month, whether we know it or not, we are getting, just, it's just mucking up all of our energy space like little bitty gremlins on there. So the full moon is a really good time to get rid of a lot of that just negative things and negative energy that has just built up over the last 4 weeks, basically since that last full moon. It's just like a
That's
good
awesome.
break. We're always so damn busy with life. And it's like you feel, we talk about how emotions and how the moon represents emotions. And I always mention to everybody that I talk to about this that every relationship we have in our lives or everything we do is based on an emotional bond, whether it's a song that we're emotionally tied to, or it's an emotional decision that we're making, or it's an emotional relationship that we have, whether it's with a person, a place, or a thing. It could be a relationship with food. But it's oh shit, now I forget what I was talking about. I talked about food.
And got distracted.
My Cancer moon all of a sudden was just like food,
Food.
food, food, food. You're talking about food. Um, but so you attract anyway, back to that. So what you want to do is like cleanse that energy off. So then that way you can kind of move forward with that more positive energy. And it really just helps to just get you resonating and vibrating on that attraction kind of mode with the law of attraction. So that's really why the full moon is so important. It keeps you aligned with that law of attraction and manifesting because it helps to release things. And you start to see as you go through every full moon. So we have a full moon every month, every 28 to 30 days. It takes the moon about 28 to 30 days to get through her full cycle. And the full moon is actually like the end of it, or it's like I shouldn't say the end, it's like the high point of it. So it's that time when the moon hits 100% in the sky. So if you look up, like right now, I think today we're still in a, I got to think through my things here. We're still in a waxing gibbous because we wax up to the full moon and we wane back down.
I just had
Sorry.
Creole.
I do. I'm Mr. Miyagi. I'm Mr. Miyagi that I wax up. So you wax on from the new to the full. So anyway, so right now we're in that waxing gibbous phase, which means bulging. So gibbous actually means bulging, and waxing is that cycle of the moon where it's growing. So when we say waxing gibbous, we literally mean like about ready to pop, like big giant bulging moon energy. And you'll continue to see that grow until the moon actually hits that 100%. So knowing that the full moon is the climax, so it's when the moon hits 100%. She starts off with 0%, and that's when we have the new moon. And she goes through that waxing cycle, and she gets to 100%, and that's when she's super bright in the sky. Then, once we have the full moon, guess what? Almost immediately after, you can start to see where she starts to wane and she starts to come back down and all the way back down to 0% again when we have that full moon. So, I'm sorry, when we have that new moon. So, when we have the full moon and it's at 100% at the very height of that cycle, guess what? That's another key word for the full moon, and that is climaxes. So a lot of times we have full moon energy and we see the ending of things. And very simple explanation, you think about pregnancy. More babies are born around full moons. That's the end of a pregnancy, right? But does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now to that point, that's, the end of an actual, so it's the end of a situation. So albeit whatever situation it is that has been stewing in your life or that you've been stewing over that's going on, as we approach full moons, the emotional, again, think about, I talked about that waxing gibbous and the moon is all about
Getting
emotions.
ready
So
to pop. Yep.
bingo. Yep. So that emotional, we start off with the new moon and emotions are great. But as we grow towards that full moon, those emotions that, yeah, they're growing and they're growing and they're growing. So if over the last like 2 to 4 weeks, there's been something and you can feel that either emotionally you are getting more and more like either pissed off or you're thinking more and more about it, you can feel your energy or emotional energy towards it growing, or if you can literally look and be like, oh my gosh, I see the chaos growing around me, kind of thing, that's where we get into that climaxing kind of thing, because those are those situations that most likely, as we hit that full moon, somebody is going to pop and something is going to end. So we're going to have that climax or the conclusion to something. The great
That's
part about
hilarious.
do what?
That's hilarious because when I used to work in a call center, and the full moons. Like I didn't know all the backstory behind the full moons,
Right?
but we all dreaded being the full moons because it seemed like people were grouchier and like, wanting to fight more and wanting to argue more. So that actually makes sense now and kind of explains why hospitals, they're always like, it's a full moon, that's when the crazies come out because everybody's emotions are they're getting ready to burst, and so you have to release them so that you don't pop.
Bingo. So so that's the part of it. So we release them, right? We try to get rid of them so we don't explode. But the piece that I love about all of this is by understanding the full moon is coming. That's the first one, right? By knowing that it's coming and being aware. And then by understanding the emotional energy that comes around, there's a general full moon, right? General full moon is just that high emotional energy. And then you pair on some of this, what we're going to talk about today, some of the zodiac signs, the flavors, and how this full moon really might play out for you. You can literally just sit back and watch all of the chaos and not engage. So when we talk about the moon, we talk about learning how to, especially with the full moon, the whole goal is to learn how to, instead of emotionally, instinctively reacting, that fight or flight, you have the tools now to understand what that energy is going to be. And either you can take the steps so that you don't cause the chaos, or you can take steps to either diffuse it or choose to walk away from that chaos. And it's, shit, I had a good way I was going to say it. Somebody turned on the shower downstairs.
It gives you it feels like it, to me at least, it sounds like you get your power back. Like you don't feel like you're in chaos all the time.
I
You
like that.
know that one, it's just a phase because a
Yes.
new phase will come.
Yes.
And then two, it gives you some of the power back because you can be like, nope, I'm not participating in that. I'm going to walk away.
Yes, it kind of gives you, no joke, an excuse to check out. Um, because like I know that the full moon is coming, and I know we're going to talk about some of the energy that comes around, because every full moon has that general energy, right? But we also look at what else is happening with the moon. It's all about the moon when it comes to the full moon. So, but some of them are just absolutely off the charts and crazy. And so what I was trying to say before that I forgot was, instead of emotionally and instinctively reacting, you get to intelligently respond to things, right? So
I like
it's
that.
coming. You can sit back and be like, you know what? I'm not, between now and when this full moon hits us, which I don't think I've even said this, is on Monday, October the 6th at like 11:47 on, according to my notes, 11:47. I'm sorry, 11:48 p.m. in our area, Eastern Standard Time. Please check your local listings. But until that time, October the 6th. So, and that's, I'm sorry, I said Monday. Is October
Happy
6th a Monday
birthday.
or a Tuesday?
Yeah, it's
I'm sorry.
McCullough's birthday. It's McCullough's birthday. Yeah.
Okay, I wrote down Tuesday. That's really crazy. I did. I wrote down Tuesday. Okay, so until Monday, probably. So, and once Tuesday rolls around, because the full moon is at midnight on Monday night. So once Tuesday rolls around, that's when I'll decide to engage in stuff. But I already can see tempers are flaring, in different places, or people are already starting to set the stage. We talked about those climaxes and those conclusions, and I can start to see where, okay, we may have to just make sure Mondays is definitely a no meeting Monday, because people may try to, you know, people may go
That's
after
a
each
good
other.
point too about planning, like understanding the moon phases so you can plan because, having a whole bunch of people in a room
Yep.
on a full moon probably isn't a great idea to do.
Exactly, because you have to think, the emotional energy. I can speak to that from, like the psychic fairs, because I also am a professional tarot reader and I do a psychic fair the first Saturday of every month. and they do typically fall. The Pisces full moon, it's always the Pisces full moon. That's always a big one. And so you can tell from that psychic fair, when those psychic fairs are right around or on a full moon, I know it's going to be crazy, just because everybody that's coming in has an elevated emotional energy. They are all super stressed about something coming in their lives, and I'm literally just going to tell them, give it 48 hours. That gives you time to think about stuff, make no rash movements, let the full moon pass, and you're going to be okay. So, but it is always like that. Because I journal. I don't journal, but I track because I like patterns. I track when psychic fairs are, and then what the phases of the moon, and then what. Sometimes, like I'll have patterns, like maybe the same card came up like 7 or 8 times during the day, so I'll just write it so I can tell, and then that way I can go back and go, oh, you know what? For the last, I know I can say for the last 2 Pisces full moons, it's been, which that's the one that we just had in September. It's been very interesting as far as psychic fair energy goes. It's just very elevated.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I better hang on. I'm gonna take a drink of my coffee mug, which I'll show if anybody's watching at home. I love my mug. I showed Tracy. It says that I am mother of the fucking year. I love it because, in case nobody's figured it out yet, that's like one of my favorite words.
That is the spice of life word.
It is. It is. So that's a little bit. So we talked. So that kind of kicks us off to talk a little bit about like just that's like the general full moon energy. So it's all about, it's all about climaxes, conclusions, and big emotions when we talk about the full moon. So you want to talk about this full moon specifically before I jump
Yes,
into like
yes.
Aries full moon stuff? I'm excited. This one's a good one. So I mentioned before, and thanks for correcting me. So this Aries full moon is going to happen. Mark your calendars, folks, on Monday, October the 6th at 11:48 p.m. Now, do you want to know something really, really cool about this?
What?
Monday, October the 6th, actually is kind of a funky day astrologically, and it's going to, in my opinion, in my astrological opinion, it's going to soften the blow of the actual full moon itself. So, not to say that things aren't going to go batshit crazy ahead of time, but as we get really, really close to that full moon, if things haven't climaxed, things might get a little bit more quiet because the moon actually moves into the sign of Aries at like midnight on Monday. So, we're talking, Sunday night, everybody go to sleep. By the way, no, no, we don't change our clocks back yet. Never mind. I was like, oh my gosh, I get to do a PSA about daylight savings time. But sorry, folks, false alarm. That's November 2nd. So you go to sleep Sunday night. You wake up on Monday, or no, you don't wake up on Monday, but as you're sleeping, whoop, the moon moves from Pisces into Aries at like midnight. So that happens. Then at noon on Monday, Mercury, the planet of intelligence, the planet of mind, the planet of communication, moves into Scorpio. So that means, and Scorpios like to go deep. So Monday means, some of your communications, deep conversations, right? So deep conversations, deep things, deep thinking about what's happening, right? Again, because this is happening and this full moon's coming, if you find yourself being pulled into deep conversations, step out. It's a full moon. If you find that your thoughts are getting really deep, or you're thinking, paranoia, sometimes Scorpio energy can be a little bit jealous. If you feel that those emotions are getting bigger as we move towards that, some of that may have to be with that more Mercury moving into Scorpio. So again, back out of the conversation, talk yourself off the ledge so that's at noon on Monday. Okay. So that's midnight. We go in, moon moves into Aries. Aries is about a warrior. Noon on Monday, Mercury moves into Scorpio, which can sometimes be a little stingy, hold a little grudge, likes to go deep, and can sometimes, be a little bit stingy. And then we have the full moon at right before midnight on Monday night. So Monday may be a little bit of a roller coaster for everybody, but that's why. So to my point, do you know? So do you know about like aspects with the moon, like trine and sextile? We
Yes.
talk about that like conjunction. Okay.
The square,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
trine,
Yeah.
conjunct.
So astrologically speaking, when we have a full moon, the full moon, I'm sorry. Oh, Thank you. Sorry, my son popped in here with a hat. He popped around the podcast corner because I of the closet and popped a little bitty. It's for his for grandbaby number 9, who is coming very very soon. And so apparently they have bought little baby number 9 a Slayer beanie. He's my kid. It's either going to be Pantera or Slayer or something. So yeah, he got her a Slayer beanie. But um, so anyway, astrologically speaking, the full moon happens when the moon and the sun are 100 or 180 degrees apart on the zodiac wheel and in the sky, right? So the whole point about the moon being fully illuminated is that it is right there and in perfect alignment with the earth, so that the sun's light shines right on that moon, and that moon reflects 100% of that light back here onto us down here in the earth. And so it's got that that's called an aspect when they're apart like that. So it's called an opposition. 180 degrees means that those two, whether it's the sun and the moon or it's a planet, those two are opposing, which is kind of a harsh energy. That's why full moons are so harsh, because they're actually 180 degrees on there. But when we talk about anything with the moon, we usually look at what else is happening in the skies. And if there are other planets that the moon is also making aspects with, whether it's a good aspect or a harsh aspect, that can tell us whether the moon's going to be more intense. If it's making a bunch of harsh aspects with, let's say, Pluto, or even with Saturn, or is it going to be a little bit more calm and it's going to get a little bit of a little bit of a chill pill, because maybe it's making happy aspects with other planets, right? So things are going really really well. So for this particular full moon on Monday, October the 6th, the moon is making zero other aspects with any other planet, starting at 1 minute before the full moon happens. So at 11:47, the moon goes what we call void of course, which means it's not making any aspects. There's no, hey guys, the moon's squaring Saturn, or hey guys, the moon's trining with Neptune. Nope, there's nothing. The moon is, it is just the moon and the sun in the sky. That's it. So that's pretty nice. It's going to make it a little bit easier.
That is awesome.
Yeah. It doesn't happen until 1 minute before the full moon. But now, so just to explain, so I talked about void of course. Void of course is just when the moon is not making any aspects with anything else. Usually, because the skies are busy places, guys, the moon, as she moves around the zodiac wheel, right? And she moves around the zodiac wheel, and we watch her move across the sky, and we watch her grow from, she'll be a full moon to, in the next couple of days, and she'll shrink back down and be new. So when we talk about the sun and the moon being in that opposition, what that kind of does, the moon in astrology represents our emotions. Okay. So that's where our emotional self is going to be at the time of the full moon. And when we talk about the full moon in Aries, I do just want to just throw this out there. I don't know if you know this or not, but that's always the sign of the moon. It's super simple. It's easy to tell what sign is the moon going to be in, whether it's a full moon or a new moon or a quarter moon. It's always, we just say, hey, guess what? It's the Aries full moon. You automatically know that that's where that sign's going to be. Now, Tracy, my queen of opposites, what sign is opposite of Aries on the zodiac wheel?
Libra.
Libra, you're right. Yeah, ding, 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 ding. So that means, because at the time of the full moon in Aries, the moon is in Aries and the sun is on the opposite side. So 180 degrees, that means the sun is going to be in the sign of Libra. And the sun in astrology, as we've talked about, represents like your ego and its life and it's everything that we're doing in our day-to-day stuff, right? So knowing that the moon is where our emotions are and she's up here in Aries, well, the sun and life and what's going on around us is all going to be focusing on a lot of that Libra energy. And what that does is that creates like a tug of war between, literally, you've got yin and yang energy, right? Moon is very
Right.
yin. Yeah. So that's where we really, when we talk about full moon and full moon energy, I'll use a lot of times the phrase, it's like a tug of war. And it's really a tug of war between between the emotions and life. So Now you know that part of it. The great part happens when we dive a little bit deeper into the signs, because I know my emotions. I know the moon's in Aries. That's great. And I know the sun's in Libra, and that's where life's going to be pushing me. But once we start to talk about the flavor of those actual zodiac signs, then you can start to see where that tug of war is going to kind of play out, and what that general theme of this particular full moon is. So, you want to do it? Are you excited?
Yes,
You want
let's
to do it?
talk
Okay.
about which one do you want to
All
talk
right.
about first, Aries or Libra?
You know what? Let me see. What did I have on my notes here? Let's see. We get an idea. Blah blah blah. Let me see my notes. Yeah. Oh, it's funny. I did write this down. I'll just make my note. I put here, "Hey Tracy." I didn't say "Hey Tracy," but just so you guys understand, what we do is, because the moon and the sun are at that opposition, we're going to use this information to basically, what we talked about before, to find a balance in between those two energies, so that we don't get thrown off balance, and we don't let life throw us off balance and pretty much fuck up everything we've tried to build so far, which sometimes happens around the time of the full moon. So it's, yeah, it can be really really crazy. So because I love the moon so much, let's talk about the moon. So during that full moon in Aries, the moon is going to be in the sign of Aries. And so that is where your emotions, and kind of how your emotions might express themselves as we get to that full moon. And if anybody happened to listen to our, I'm not sure exactly what episode it was, but it was the Zodiac Wheel Part 1, we talked about Aries. And Aries is a fire sign. It's very me, me, me. It is the very first sign on the Zodiac Wheel. It is ruled by the planet Mars, which is that big giant, which is the red planet. It's all about like getting stuff done and moving things
Action,
along.
passion,
Bingo.
very like, you know, I always, somebody explained it to me when, as like the, if you do the zodiac sign for age, Aries is like the young kid, the like ready to go into everything, no fear, no, they're just ready to charge at everything.
Yeah, it's just a little bit explosive, right? Or but it also and that's not a bad thing either, right? Because if you think about Aries from an Aries moon, right? So if anybody checks their chart, if you are an Aries moon, or as we move into this Aries moon, you'll fight for what you love, right? If there's something that you are emotionally, Aries is an Aries moon is somebody you want on your side, that's got, you've got their buy-in when it's time to go to battle for something, that there's an emotional aspect to it, right? Because if they are truly into it, that's where you can use that warrior energy on the positive side, right? And be like, all right,
Right.
we're going for it. Um, so when we think about that, and we think about that full moon and the climax of the emotional energy, and we talk about that warrior and those Aries, do you see where that full moon energy might be a batshit crazy show? We talk, it could be very much your emotional energy could be warrior like. It could be very me, 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 meaning that your emotions want to take the center stage, right? Your emotions want to, um, and when I say your emotions, I don't mean that like you're crying and you're talking about your emotions, but the things that you're emotional about, those are the things that are going to be more important to you as you come up against this full moon. So because that moon is in Aries. So excuse me, things that are more important to you. So, like, I'm trying to think of an example. If you've got, let's say, you've got all these different tasks and things to do, but you have got this one thing that you've just really wanted to do. And there's these other things are not necessary. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. I've got the coffee hiccups. These other things aren't necessarily like small things, but you kind of want to throw a little bit of a temper tantrum. And damn it, you're going to go do what you want to do and screw the rest of the world, right? So that could be some of that, where that emotional tug of war starts to happen. And I say the emotional tug of war. So if you think your emotions are going to have that Aries piece of it, now let's flip it over to where life is going to be pushing, so you understand a little bit more about why you may be wanting to go into battle, or what your battle is kind of causing, right? Because it's that opposition. And so the moon, I'm sorry, this is the moon. The sun, when we have the Aries full moon, like you said, Tracy, is in the sign of Libra. And I've been talking this whole time. What do you know about Libra? I'll let you get a word in edgewise.
Well, actually, my youngest son is a Libra. His birthday is actually Monday on the full moon. So
On the
this
phone.
it'll be interesting to see how that if that affects him. But anyways, Libras
Hang on, is it
are
a big is it a big birthday for him? How old is he?
he will be 28.
But that works out really well because you think about when I said the emotional energy is going to be very centered on me, me, me. That's kind of nice that on his birthday it's going to be all about him, right? So it really, if he wants it to be all about him that day, he wants
It
to make it a day
can.
all about him. That is he totally. That would be when we talk about living in alignment with the moon phases and the moon. That would totally be it. It'd be like I know it's my birthday anyway, but it is really just a me kind of day. But
And
I'm
it's
sorry, I digress.
27, not 28, just in case he listens. I do know when he was born. It's 27, not 28.
See, now you just inflated his emotional energy. Now he's going to be pissed because you said he was older than what he was. So,
Well, it was like
this,
my kids are 2 years apart, and so it was like, okay, I knew KO is going to be 29 this year. For some reason, 28 popped in my head. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. That's not 2 years,
understood. Don't do math. Don't try to do math in your head. Don't.
right? Math and podcasting don't go together.
Yeah, I heard today somebody said that it was something on the radio, and he said he was always taught don't do math on the radio, and I thought, you know
Yep,
what, don't do math on the podcast, Darcy.
yep.
Don't do math on the podcast. Just stay away from it. We're gonna have to make that. Don't do math on the
that a rule, but like Libra about balancing, about beauty, ruled by Venus. So
ruled by Venus. You're right. It's got that Venus is that got that lovely kind of sensual, um, taking care of itself kind of energy, doesn't it?
yes,
And Libra is an air sign, right?
Libra is an air sign.
Yeah, I
Yes.
had to think about that. I know I threw that on you without you having any notes. That was kind of like a test. You totally passed. You did a really, really great job. But to that, so yeah, so you're right. So some of those keywords, Libra, just to help everybody understand too. So Libra is the balance bringer of the zodiac. It is just a little fun fact. The one zodiac sign that is not represented by an animal because it's actually represented by the scales. But because Libra loves balance so much, it's got that Venetian and energy, but it's also that human connection and it's got that social aspect to it and it's got that balance aspect to it. There's a lot of life and a lot of people and a lot of trying to run around and make sure that you're taking care of everybody and maybe not taking care enough of yourself. Okay. That's sometimes that Libra energy. When we play that up with where the sun is at the time of the full moon. So we think, okay, the moon is in Aries, so that's where my emotions are at a little bit. They could be a little bit elevated, could be a little bit warrior like, could be a little bit me, 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 and really, really, really want to focus on the emotional part. But life, where the sun is at, is going to really be pushing you to kind of fall off balance basically. Or I should say it's going to be pushing you to keep a balance, okay? Because
Right.
Libra is all about balance. So while you're wanting to run around and do all of these different things and me, 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 or just basically burn down everything so that you can build it up later because you've just fallen too far into that emotional energy, life is going to be pushing you to really just to stop yourself and to find a balance, right? So that's where we start getting that tug of war. And you have to, and so by understanding where this is now, if you can be aware of where your emotions might be, when you start to realize that, okay, my emotions are taking over here, and and I realize I've got to really keep a balance here, you amazingly enough don't screw everything up. You're able to really be like, okay, I've got to just kind of keep balance here. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
So I mean, and I've said these words several times. They go with every full moon, but when we talk about the actual signs, that's where you really start to understand that flavor or the theme. And so when we talk about the theme with the new moon, or I'm sorry, the full moon with the moon being in Aries and that sun being in Libra and that balance, the big challenge that we're going to come up against and the theme for this particular full moon is all about finally is basically learning how to control your emotions. It's learning how to realize that your emotional reactions to certain situations are throwing the rest of the world off balance. And so that's a real risk that we can run into if we fall into that that pattern of the full moon that everybody else will be in, that everybody else is going to be. I mean, the moon is in Aries for everybody in the
Right.
world. So everybody in the world, you can expect most of the people you encounter, their emotions are going to be more important over the next couple of days from the time this is published until Monday, October the 6th rolls around. Their emotions are going to be more important, not yours, theirs. So you have to really just kind of play this dance and try not to let your emotions get too crazy, because then guess what? Your emotions are crazy. Susan in accounting, hers are crazy. Bob down in
And
loss
that's when
prevention, he's are crazy. And guess what? Now everybody's crazy, and now we're on this and now everything's out of balance because we've said the wrong things, we've done the wrong. It's just learning how it's learning how to take that step back and realize how you're reacting affects the rest of the world. And it's I guess that's kind of like accountability, taking accountability for some of your emotions, right?
right, right.
I just
It's
thought of
learning
that.
to be to what is it? Not I'm not thinking of emotionally immature. What's the word? Oh, you said it the other day when we were.
Obstinate? No.
No, it's being emotionally.
Res- she's blanking out. Okay, I'll keep talking. When you come up with the word, you keep going. So,
Oh, it's
um,
gross.
you know, so now that you know that, right? So I'm trying as we go through this to kind of come up with when I look at this before we do these podcasts, I'm like, all right, here's where the moon is. Same thing I'm talking about. I mean, I'm literally just talk through this in my mind, but here's where the moon is. This is where my emotions. This is where the sun is. Da, 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 da. And then I try to blend that together for the theme. And themes are always going to be different, but full moons is typically going to have something to do with the tug of war and everybody in the world needing to find some sort of a balance, because the full moon is all meant to throw us off balance. It's the
Right.
height of everything. And
But
if you go ahead.
I don't mean to throw you off. I finally remembered it. It's emotional intelligence, is what I was trying to
Ah,
think of.
there we go.
It's
You got it.
having that emotional intelligence so that you don't fly off the handle.
Right. So, like, I already know, if I know that the moon is in Aries, and it's not just my moon, it doesn't matter for where your moon is at when we talk about this, where your moon is at on your chart. You just need to know the sign of the moon when we talk about like the full moon or the new moon. But to what I said before, everybody is got the full moon in Aries. So most of the people are going to have that. So be aware when you're in meetings on Monday or when you're scrolling through social media. Don't engage. Just be smart. It's just you will be. It's I'm telling you what. This is where when I tell people that astrology is real and that it changed my life, it really did, because you learn when you really start to follow every single full moon and you see the different flavors and you start to pay attention to everything going on around you. Life just flows. You don't have the climaxes and the conclusions because you aren't a part of the craziness. It's just a beautiful thing. So I'm just excited to be able to share that with everybody.
No, I
Um,
agree. I agree. It's you can sit back and you can watch the crazy instead of being part of the crazy.
Yes. And I mean, and I'm telling you what, and I talk about this moon and I preach all this stuff and I do all these reels, but I mean, I'm nobody's perfect, right? I mean, I get involved in some pretty crazy stuff sometimes. But what I really love about this and the fact that we're doing this now is that now I'm aware, right? So even though I follow it and it's written down in my book and all that other stuff, this really forces me to talk about it. And I'm telling you what, I'm already jazzed about it and already back into a different spot, because I spent 2.5 years living this, from spot to spot to spot. And it just makes a huge difference. Like you said, emotional intelligence. I mean, I'm still not
Yes.
emotionally intelligent, not as far as I'm concerned, right? Or like how I deal with my particular emotions, but or I should say my emotional reactions to stuff like in my head. But to be able to sit in things and be like, okay, I know Monday, based on this and this and this and this and this and this, these are the people that I'm pretty sure are going to be flying off the handle that I'm either going to have to completely avoid, or I'm going to have some calm down tactics already, right? It just ready to go. So,
Right.
But
It
speak,
helps you prepare. Like,
yes,
sometimes you can't avoid the people that are going to be reacting, but it helps you, like, so it doesn't catch you off guard and you can be like, okay, this is why this is happening. Just take
yep.
a deep breath. It will, everything will move on. Give it a day or two. Everything's going to be fine.
Well, and and I always tell people, so when you're in, because I always use like work situations, because that's always the hardest when you're in a meeting or you're in a crowded spot or whatever, and the energy's just not right, and you can tell that it's going to escalate. I have no problem with excusing myself to go to the bathroom. Not once, as in a meeting, has anybody ever been like, "No, Darcy, you can't go pee." So, um, and then you know what? Guess what? Oh, whoops! Sorry, I got stopped somewhere. But so not only does that give me the energetic break, so that I don't necessarily get involved in the heat of the discussion, I can come back into the room, maybe, hopefully, when everybody's gotten that initial explosion out, like, hey, here's what's wrong and here are my thoughts, and I can come back in 5 minutes when things are a little bit more calm. But I'll be honest, the other thing that I do like to do is, we talk a lot about, or I should say I talk a lot about how water has amazing energetic cleansing powers. And
Right.
so going into the bathroom and running your hands under running water is amazing
Ah,
for
yeah,
getting rid
relief.
of that work day
That's a great
that
tool.
everybody puts on you. Yes. Um,
Great
I know
tool.
I do it in between readings when I'm doing that at the shop. I go into the little girls' room and I literally just wash my hands. Sometimes I will be like, wash away the negative energy, replace with white light. That's just the mantra that always goes into my head. And even when I'm saging my cards, I'm like, replace the negative, take away remove the negative energy and replace with white light. I don't know. But but I suggest that a lot to people that are in business situations or in situations where they're just, you can't get away from it sometimes. But those are little that's just a little general trick that you can do to get away from anything. And have Aunt Susie at the family reunion go run your hands under some water. If you have to imagine yourself drowning her while you're doing that, that's okay. Just don't really live it out.
Do you have any other tips
Yeah, I
or like
do
how
actually.
to do?
Yeah, that's just like a general thing. So when I go through these, I am going to try to give, like, so some full moons I've written down like three or four, other ones I have like 20, and I kind of have to pick from them. So I'm going to try to go through just a couple of them that really focus on what we mentioned was that theme for the new, or for the full moon in Aries, which is getting control of your emotions and really understanding how they can affect the other people that are around you. Okay. So
Okay.
as I go through this, again, these are, if you do nothing more than just follow and understand the energy of the full moon, and you save yourself from getting involved in things or ruining things or whatnot that are going on, that is the best way to work with the full moon, right? That's like, I should say, that's like one of the basic ways. We also talked about cleansing your energy and saging and all of that stuff. It's always a great time. Um, but there are ways you can go in and work with it and a little bit deeper. So I just like to give people some examples. I'm a trainer by heart. So the first one I want to talk about is self-care, and it's about making time for you. I know we said that the Aries, when the moon is in Aries, it's all about me, 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 and that sun's going to be pulling you in other ways. So what better time than to be like, you know what? Sunday night, I'm going to do my toes. Or Monday, I can look right now at the AccuWeather forecast. It's going to be 86 degrees. And I'm going to go ahead and block out my lunch hour so that I'm sure I get one. And I'm going to go outside and sit. What can you do to really just make time for yourself? And the reason I say that is because a lot of times when we aren't taking care of ourselves, our emotions run high anyway. We're often hangry. How often have you been like, I'm hangry, I'm hangry? I was at the nail salon today. Shout out to Emily that was there. She was like, I'm hangry. And I offered her applesauce. She's like, why the fuck do you have applesauce? I was like, don't ask, but I have applesauce. I have applesauce in my purse. Do you want? But Hunger, that's not, I mean, obviously that's a physical reaction, but that hangry, that's your emotional reaction because your blood sugar's dropped.
Right.
Um, so when we aren't taking care of ourselves, we tend to emotionally, instinctively react instead of emotionally, and intelligently responding to things. So take time to make sure you're taking care of yourself. You should always try to, but if nothing more, between the time that this episode is aired and then the time that we get past that full moon phase, so by the time Tuesday gets here, just try to take time for yourself. Hopefully, it's more than once a day. And it doesn't matter what it is, but make sure you acknowledge it. I have to acknowledge that if I say I don't have time to do stuff or take care of myself or make time for myself, that's a lie. I pick up now, my screen time has gone down. I play Candy Crush. My diversion for the emotional thing is I go to do Candy Crush, and I only play it for like 5 minutes at a time or when I'm on the treadmill. But I could do other things. Right now, I did say I'm on the treadmill. That is another thing that's making time for me, right? Exercising, that's another thing that is something for me. But, I have to acknowledge that, hey, me taking that break and playing Candy Crush, that's okay. That's time for me. That's my refresh. So if I can acknowledge that that's my refresh, it kind of makes it a little bit better because I don't feel so emotionally overwhelmed. Because when I start to get that way, it's like, stop. You did take a break, Darcy. You went out there and sat in your car for 10 minutes and played Candy Crush, and you told yourself that that was your emotional break for the day. So don't get your panties in a wad right now because you're not getting to take a lunch or because you don't think you got a lunch. Yes, you did. So I have to kind of talk myself. So you have to really understand, I guess, and acknowledge where you are making time for yourself. Okay. So just if there are some places, just take full moons are about reflection. I'll talk about the 5 R's in another episode, but we reflect a lot at the full moon. So just see where, are you not taking enough care of yourself and you could do better? And let's release some of those bad habits that are keeping us from taking care of ourselves. Or B, well, while I'm reflecting, like, you know what, I do make some time for myself. It may not be what I think I want, but there is time, and I do have some stuff that I'm doing that really does kind of help me in one way, shape, or another. By acknowledging it, number one, you switch it from a negative context to a positive. Law of attraction is positive, but you also switch it because now all of a sudden your endorphins and your dopamine receptors are kicked off to know that, oh my gosh, that's me time. It's not just
Right.
I'm blowing off time, it's me time, and it's constructive, and it just changes that emotional thing. So making time for you as we move up to this full moon is a really, really, is just an important thing that I would encourage everybody to do. I mentioned Sunday night, I'm going to do my toes. That's not a lie. They are severely neglected. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to sit down and just soak my toes on Sunday. So I'm going to do that. How about you? Can you think of like one thing you might be able to do before,
On Sunday, let's see.
or Monday?
I might do my nails. You said
Mm,
toes, but I don't have my nails done. I don't usually do my nails. Um, I do a lot of things with my nails, like crafting and stuff. So I don't
yeah.
do my nails very often. So
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm totally going to bring this to you. Okay. I'm going to have to drop this off on Saturday because I'm going to be close to your house. This is totally off topic for everybody that's out there. And this show is not sponsored, but I have that Sally Hansen No UV, what is it? Miracle Gel, all the nail
ooh,
polish stuff. And I've
yeah.
got like really cool colors, like it's called Galaxy. It's really dark black. But I get my nails done now, so I can't use that. So I can bring, and that stuff stays on for 14 days, and I am not lying, and it comes
Oh
right off
yeah.
with nail
I'll try
polish.
it.
No,
I'll
I will
try.
just bring it to you because I got to get this crap out of my house. P.S. What was, I shouldn't say P.S. postscript, but remember one of those keywords we talked about at the full moon was cleansing.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who's getting rid of her nail stuff because she's taking it to Tracy's? This girl.
Cleansing.
Well, no, seriously though, it's funny because as you sorry, something's in my eye, but as you start to kind of do this, you start realizing, oh my gosh, my Goodwill trips have always been centered right around the full moon. Well, guess what? Now I plan them around the full moon. It's just
Right.
it's great. I mean, I told you, I think the last one, I'm like, it's the best thing. So, getting rid of everything. So, but I mentioned my toes and that my toes were neglected. But the other thing that I would encourage people to do is as we're reflecting and looking at where we may be neglecting ourselves, take a look around you and see where maybe there are some people in your lives who may feel a little bit neglected themselves. If you are working hard, pushing for goals, staying busy like everybody else is, while they may not say it, there may be people who could just use a little bit more of you time. So you don't necessarily, we're not starting conversations because then that's going to start a fight or something, right? But, just take a look. Maybe that you haven't called your Aunt Sally in the last 4 months. And, she's not going to reach out. I mean, she's busy, right? But you know that it probably, so if she's feeling a little neglected, I'm going to call her. Shout out, Aunt Sally. I love you. And thanks for the Susie Q's. Kenny's really happy. Because I really haven't talked to her and I love her a lot and I feel like I've neglected our relationship. So, but I've got like, a best friend that I haven't talked to. We text, but I haven't talked to her, actually talked to her in like 6 months. That's a neglected relationship. So around the time of the full moon, it's a good chance just to, again, we're still focused on our emotions because I'm going to feel better when I don't think about these people and think like, damn, I really miss them. Right. I'm going to be like, I am so glad that I called and just talked to them. Right. It's going to kind of change that. So we just take a look at the relationships that we're neglecting, not just the one with ourselves, what we talked about, making time for ourselves, but the ones that are around you, and just where could you maybe just do a little bit of something extra to just smooth that over and maybe make them feel a little bit better. If you've got somebody
Just
in your
show them
life
some
that,
attention. Whether, I mean, if you can't call them, a simple text, I'm thinking of you, or something like that.
yes. Or, here's the thing. If there's a Cancer moon in your life, donuts are always a great way to patch things up. Hint, hint, hint for anybody that's out there. I'm just joking. I don't need any donuts. But that's the other piece, is just to see where maybe other people are feeling a little bit neglected. And it's not just people. What else in your life is being neglected, right? We are busy. Life is going crazy. Maybe you've slipped out of some good habits. We did, if anybody set new moon goals with the second Virgo new moon that we just had, well, Virgos are all about habits and cleaning things out, healthier habits. So if you made a healthier habit, goal with the new moon in Virgo, how is that going right now? Are you neglecting some of those promises that you made to yourself for your health? So is your health being neglected? How about your finances? Are your finances being neglected? Just take a look. It's just a good time around that Aries full moon for you to do that. Okay. And what that kind of does is that just, it helps. Basically, you'll identify something before it becomes an issue, and that keeps everything in balance, right? Because we're talking about keeping everything in balance. So
Right.
it's just a good idea to do that. And when we talk about Aries, and it's the ruler of the zodiac, or not the ruler, it's the kicker off of the zodiac, but it's ruled by the planet Mars, and it's very me, 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 and it's very, very self-centered. It likes to, we often say, Aries is the warrior. It likes to stand up there. It's that first house. It's got to be first in line. It's got to be like, I'm number one. Your rising sign is your first house, right? Um, but with that, and because there's so much of that, hey, it's me, hey, it's me, hey, it's me, hey, it's me, not everybody has this great self-image and this feeling like they've got self-confidence enough to go out there and really do what they want to do, to be that fighter that they need to be, because we're a
Right.
little bit reversed. So the full moon in Aries is a great time to take a look at where you've got some either self-image or self-confidence fears, and talk yourself through what you could maybe do to get over some of that, or to start working and move past some of that stuff, right? Um, to my point, I should also say, when I talk about these things to work on, these may also be issues that come up around the full moon. So when I talked about things being neglected, you may have somebody that starts complaining because they feel like they're being neglected. These are the things I'm giving you, these tips, but I needed to point out that these could also be some things that come up. So as I say that, as we move towards that full moon in Aries, I want everybody to be really aware of where your self-image thoughts are at. Okay. You and I are Virgos and we're very critical of ourselves to a terrible degree sometimes. And that has a part to do with our self-image and our self-confidence, as far as that goes. So understanding that that energy may be a little bit heightened. If you find that, oh my gosh, I'm really beating myself up, stop, take a break, right? That's maybe a little bit of a self-image thing that we need to sit down and talk about, that, hey, it's okay that your earlobes are too long. Nobody really cares, right? That shouldn't keep you from, wearing your favorite earrings. So, but just taking a second and seeing where you could just do a little bit better, or where could you maybe, I guess, how should I put this? That's the way to do it. Thank you. Where where is either a fear of confidence, right, or a lack of confidence, lack of self-confidence, or some sort of self-imposed fear, whether it's self-image, self-portrayal, how you feel in the public eye. How might that be holding you back from your goals? Can I do this podcast, I talk with my hands, I try to speak fluently, right? It's taken me a long time to be able to talk about this, but that was one of my goals, and one of my self-image issues, and one of my self-confidence things was the fact that I just had to do it, right? I know how to talk about it. I don't have to read from a
Yep.
prompter. I've got notes here, but I can talk about this stuff, but I obsess about it in the beginning. And it's this whole big thing. And then it's like, Darcy, that's just a self-confidence thing. That's where I'm more worried about myself, or about the image that I have out there. What are other people going to think? Stop. It doesn't matter what other people think. My job in this life is just to get this information out there. It's like you and I have talked about. I have
Right.
some mess I did in a past life that I'm trying to make up for, that I've got to get all this information out to people for some reason. The rest of it I can't worry about. But that full moon, if I feel those emotions coming up, I'm going to talk myself off a ledge. But I also understand that if I feel like they're a little bit higher, that maybe I do need to look at something and work on something if I really need to get to my goal, right? Because typically that thing that is that fear, those are those few things that are holding you back from being all that you want to be. So self-confidence and self-image, taking a look at that'd be a really, really good thing to do. It's not afraid to be all about you, right? So, and that's okay as far as that part goes. So we're moving along here, guys. So the fourth one that I wrote down here, this is a big one. So saying you're sorry. If you fucked up, and you can say, truly, that was my bad, saying you are sorry is a big deal. And the full moon around Aries, because there is that tug of war. And again, we're trying to restore balance. And there may be a situation in your life where you bulldozed or ran over somebody, or was just a warrior and just you did something, right? We've all done, but whatever it is, it's on your mind, because as soon as I said that, if a thought came in your head as far as, oh, yep, that's why you do, right, there's your answer, right? Right. So as soon as I said you need to say you're sorry, if your first thought was, yeah, I yelled at Jennifer last week in accounting, damn it, that's what you need to be doing, right? I love that trick. It's like the first thought is what you need to do. Um, but because the Aries full moon can bring out some really strong emotions, being able to say you're sorry takes big emotions. It takes a big person to admit that you're wrong. It takes a big person to just say, I'm sorry. I don't need an I'm sorry, but it just needs to be an I'm sorry, because that I'm sorry, what that means when it's genuine is that you as a human being took time out of your crazy busy life to realize that how you acted or reacted actually impacted or affected another human being. And that's
Right.
a big deal, especially when it's a negative. And that's a big thing to do in today's world, because we don't typically take time to give two rats' ass for what our fellow human beings feel.
Very
And
true.
remember what I talked about, this theme was for the full moon, is finding balance, and how you may kind of be throwing things a little bit off. This is the other piece of it. Being the bigger person and just saying, and not that it's a competition. I mean, bigger person to yourself, growing. That's a big growth thing, to look at somebody and be like, truly, I am sorry. But it also shows that you are if it's genuinely said and it's genuinely felt, and conveyed that you actually took time to express empathy for another human being, which isn't something that we get a lot these days. And as that full moon gets bigger, harness those big emotions and put on your big girl or big boy panties and get out there and say you're sorry, because what you may do is just help bring somebody else down from that bulge, right? Somebody else may be
Oh
right on
yeah.
the full moon and really upset. So, and then what you do by that is you help to restore balance, not just for you, but for them. They may have, maybe what they've been asking for is just closure. That's all they need, is for you just to acknowledge that they don't need an explanation. Maybe all they need you to do is just say you were sorry. And maybe sometimes you preface it with like, look, I'm just going to say it. I don't want to explain anything, but I'm just going to say it, and you need to know that I mean it. And so by doing that, you restore that balance and you help both of you heal, because now that emotional Karen or Janet that's been on your shoulder being like, man, you really talked to Jennifer in accounting like a total ass. I can't believe you did that. She didn't
Yep.
say anything, but you shouldn't have said that. She is right there every time you walk by Jennifer in the hallway. Now you get to flick her off because you put on your big girl panties and you went and said, look, and maybe she doesn't even get it, but it's bothering you. Say you're sorry. So that's a big one to do. And then I have just one more, and then I promise I will let everybody go. Hopefully, I haven't. Oh, I guess that's kind of the same thing. The last one that I have that I wrote down as far as a suggestion is speaking your truth, and that goes right along with the saying that you're sorry. But because Libra's beautiful balance seeking energy and desire for human connections tends to sometimes not set healthy boundaries. It tends to crave that human connection and try to keep the balance as much as it can. Remember, that's where the sun's going to be.
Yep. It tends to like want to keep the peace so they won't say what they really feel because they don't want to upset anybody, or they'll just go along with what other people are doing because they want to keep the peace. So yeah,
Yes.
speaking your
Yes.
truth, letting your feelings known too.
Right. So when we think about where that emotional energy is getting higher around the full moon, maybe you're starting to feel like, okay, I think somewhere here I'm sorry. I have given in too much, and this isn't working for me, right? So that's
Exactly.
why I said before, they kind of go together, the I'm sorry and the speaking your truth piece. But because again, these are the situations that may be coming up as we get to that full moon, but that opportunity to speak your truth, because you may realize that in your beautifully and truly genuine attempt to keep the balance and keep the peace, you let yourself go. And the Aries moon, again, me, emotions me, that Aries moon and this Aries full moon, this is in a good spot for the Aries. This is where we really want to harness that, and we need to make our emotions first, right? So if you feel like you've been railroaded, or that maybe Janet in accounting said something to you and she has not said she's sorry, and maybe you need to go in there and nicely speak your truth that, hey, I don't appreciate you talking to me like that, and if you do it again, or have to take it to the parking lot. I'm just joking. We don't do that. Um, but just, speaking your truth of just, hey, I feel like you upset me, right? So I'm talking about my emotions, rather than keeping the balance and keep stewing on the fact that my emotions were truly hurt. I'm just going to be a grown up and walk in there and be like, listen, I just have to tell you, I don't want to go any deeper than this, but it just upset me that what you said there. And you don't have to say yourself. I just need you to know I'm speaking my truth today, and I was just upset, and that's all I needed to say. That's it.
Yeah, because if
So
you keep all of that in, eventually you'll blow because you're
bingo.
keeping all of this stuff in and not letting it out.
Yes.
So you speaking your truth is a
Well, and
release.
then what happens is, instead of that Aries warrior being able to come to a negotiation table and being like, all right, let's talk about the battle. Guess what? She draws that fucking sword out and she goes slashing everything in sight. You're right. Like Crazy Larry
Yep.
at the mattress store, slashing prices. And so, yeah, and that's a really great way to think about it, Tracy. Not only are these things that we're talking about things that could come up, but they're also things that, to your point, if you don't start working on them, these are situations where you may see that they rise to themselves, or that these issues come up where you didn't speak your truth, or maybe you should have said you're sorry and you didn't, and somebody's holding a fucking grudge. And Usually because we're at the full moon in Aries, usually by the time we get around to the new moon in Aries, yeah, new moon in Aries, the things that you didn't take care of, that's when they start to rear their ugly head by the time we get
Exactly.
back around the other way. Yeah. So it's not that you have to do all these things. It's just if these situations are there. So I'm just going to recap them real quickly for everybody. I know I kind of went through them and I went a little long, but again, and the whole theme is, is understanding where your emotions are. It's all about emotional intelligence. Where are your emotions at? Your emotional reactions, your emotional instincts, or your emotional, intelligence. Where are those at, and how do those affect not just life but the other people around you? And that's really what's going to be the big thing about this full moon. So just to recap, number one, make time for yourself. Take a little bit of self-care between now and Monday the 6th. Check in with those that are around you and just identify anybody that might feel a little bit neglected, and do what you can do to make them feel a little bit special over the next couple of days. There may be somebody that just a couple of few kind words that might make a huge difference and really change their entire day, week, sometimes entire lives. Okay, so that's two of them, and then I think I flipped my page. Yeah, find out where other people may be feeling neglected. Um, be
Finding your
cognizant
true.
and aware of self-image. Maybe if we've got some self-image or a few self-confidence, just some things that are holding us back, some lower levels, be aware of those and see what you can't do to just, you know, work things out a little bit. Maybe you need to take an acting class. Maybe you need to do maybe you need to take a class on emotional intelligence. I don't really know, but it's something. Look at your self-image, or any kind of self-confidence fears and things like that. um, Take time to say you're sorry. One thing I am going to add in there, a really good way to take that I'm sorry to a whole nother level, my little journaling friend, is to write down, and I put this down here. Okay, how could I have changed the situation? It's not just, am I saying, not, I'm not just saying I'm sorry, but in what ways could I have emotionally responded, not reacted, emotionally responded, so that that could have changed the situation? Because what you're allowing yourself to do is kind of replay the situation in the way that you really wanted it to go. And then you set yourself up for success the next time. It's like muscle memory. So rather than going into it with the memory of, I screwed that up and I had to say I'm sorry, you go into it with, okay, I know the right way to do this. I know the right way to say this, because when I said it the wrong way last time, it didn't work, right? So you set yourself up, right? We don't just say I'm
Right.
sorry. I always told my kids, sorry doesn't cut it. What I want from you is sorry is good, but I need to see the, show me, right? Show
You
me.
learn something from it.
Exactly. Actions do speak louder than words. Exactly. So that's the fourth one. And that goes right along with that fifth one that I had, which was speaking your truth. And just, if you feel like you've been railroaded or you haven't taken the opportunity to say what you need to say, I'm telling you what, guys, I have done that a few times in the last couple of months where I typically wouldn't say what I really feel. And I don't know if it's a different me or if it's a different scenarios or if it's different people, but I'm learning to deliver what I want to say and speak my truth a little bit better. As a Virgo, I can be pretty harsh and pretty critical, even though I don't mean to be. It just kind of comes out. Um, but when you're able to really tell people how you feel, or when you feel like you've given too much, to be able to say, I gave too much and I have to pull a little bit back because I'm kind of feeling neglected, I feel so much better because I don't hate the situation anymore. And
Right.
guess what? They didn't care that I said that. It was like, oh, okay, no big deal. We'll find somebody else to take care of those things. Not a big deal. So I had imparted that to keep that balance. I had put so much on me, right?
Right.
And it turns out that I didn't need to, right? And so so it's again restoring that balance. How did what I do? How is that affecting everything else?
Yep.
So those are my like 5 top tips for surviving this Aries full moon, which again is going to hit us on Monday, October the 6th. It's going to hit us pretty late. It's going to hit us at midnight. For those of you out there that are doing like full moon rituals or releases, if you are writing anything down or burning anything, Monday night's a great time to do it. Sunday night's a great time to do it. Tuesday night, it's not too late to do it. It is totally okay. You've got a good window there. But but try to harness this energy a little bit. And I promise you, by the time that full moon, even in the next 2 weeks, by the time that new moon in Libra gets here, and then on to that full moon that we'll have in Taurus, which is coming up in the end or the beginning of November, you will feel so much better. You will have lightened your emotional load immensely. And it's really crazy how different you can feel once you start to really work with the magic of the moon that way. It's amazing. So I just want to thank you for letting me kind of go through this whole spiel today. Do you have any questions?
Bring us something real quick, and it is a
Yeah.
little bit more like advance or the next step into this, but just in case we have some listeners that were like, you know, wanted something a little more. I don't want to get into all of the houses, but you can take it a step further by looking at your birth chart and seeing where Aries is in your house to see, what things might come up. It might have something to do with the house it's in.
Yep.
So, we have an episode where we go through all the houses. I want to say it's either the third or fourth episode. So, if you want to go back there and listen to the house episodes, that would be great to go listen to, or go over to our Facebook group.
That's right.
Drop in a question and we will help you figure it out, because we'll pull your birth chart for you if you don't
Yes.
already have it, and we can help you there. So go over there and drop in a question about where is my Aries so we can help you do
Yeah,
that.
definitely, definitely. And for everybody that's listening out there, we would just really a shout out to everyone who has been with us and supported us this far. We are just enjoying all of this and excited for the future. And we always love 5-star ratings. We love comments on our episodes on Spotify. It helps us know that at least somebody's listening other than our husbands or our kids. So, but we really, really do appreciate everybody that's listening, and we really are looking for that engagement. So please get your butts over to Facebook or get down here in the comments below Spotify and let us know what's going on with you astrologically, and we'll help you out the best that we can. We're all here to learn together. So,
Awesome.
all
All
right. Well,
right.
thanks, guys. Well, I'm Darcy Britt, and I'm signing off. How about you, Tracy?
I'm Tracy Gardner, and I'm signing off.
All right. Later, taters. Bye.
Bye.